Regular meeting of the Clear Lake City Council of Monday, April 20, 2020 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, I want to indicate the order and placing here of tonight's meeting. We have on down in front of me to my left, Councilman Callanan, to my right, Councilman Smith, to my far right, Councilman Ebling, and we have Councilman Hugie by conference phone. Are you there, Gary?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And also on a conference call, we have Chief Roth. We have Public Works Superintendent Mr. Weigel. And we have President and CEO of Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce, Stacy Dawn. And we have CEO of the North Iowa Corridor, Chad Schreck. And in our audience tonight, we have Mr. Tim Esbeck, Mr. John Sorensen, and Mr. Flory. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Mike, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. To the consent agenda. And we have an addition to the consent agenda. One addition, those of you who are here should have excavator license, Gentle Plumbing, El Dorado Springs, Missouri, that's new. All right, we also have a copy of the minutes of April 6, 2020. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. In addition to the excavator license that I just read, we have following licenses and permits: liquor license Class B, beer permit with outdoor service and Sunday sales. It's Oak Hills Par 30. We have a special Class C liquor license with outdoor service and Sunday sales. That's the Lake Theater. We have a Class C liquor license with outdoor service. That's Rumors. We have a Class C liquor license with outdoor service and Sunday sales. That's the Lakeside Landing. Those are all renewals. Motion, please.
So made. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for any citizen who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern. Please approach the podium. State your name first and last and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it into the minutes. This is not a discussion time, nor is it a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing. We'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll go to new business, memorandum of understanding with JSM Investment. Review, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, refer to the green sheets in your packet for this item. Just in the way of review, it was a couple meetings ago, we had reviewed a pre-development agreement between the city and JSM Investment for a future hotel conference center project that would be constructed out in Courtway Park subdivision, more specifically on Lot 4. And the purpose of that pre-development agreement was really to put down a general understanding of what arrangements would be with the city and JSM Investment regarding a potential future development agreement. That was necessary so that JSM could proceed with confidence and make an application for a franchise to Marriott Corporation. So we had considered that at the second meeting in March, I believe it was March 16th. The developer then submitted, based on the approval of that pre-development agreement, completed their franchise application to Marriott Corporation and submitted that. It was due by April 3rd, and Marriott Corporation reviewed that on April 6th. And happy to report that they did give approval for a Marriott franchise for Clear Lake, Iowa here. So happy to report that. But again, that pre-development just simply outlined some general understandings that gave the developer sort of comfort or peace of mind, if you will, to proceed with a $75,000 application to Marriott Corporation for that franchise. So part of that pre-development agreement, the city had indicated in there that we would fund up to $50,000 of that franchise fee application. And so, again, now that that has been approved by Marriott Corporation, we want to take the next steps with the developer, JSM Investments. So we've outlined that in this memorandum of understanding that you have before you. Essentially, what I would refer this as a sort of an intermediary step between the pre-development agreement and ultimately the future development agreement. So on the previous project, we had gone through a series of legal proceedings to amend our urban renewal area and then set date for public hearing on the development agreement and some borrowing that we had proposed to do on that project. We'll have to repeat pretty much that entire process all over again with this project because the scope of the incentives are different for this project than they were for the other project. So that is going to take some time to complete all of that necessary legal proceedings. So probably 6 weeks to 2 months to complete all of that. We have to have another consultation meeting with the taxing entities of Cerro Gordo County, so the Community College School District in Cerro Gordo County as well. So that has to be scheduled. So looking again about 2 months for that to be completed. In the meantime, the developer would like to get going more on site development. So the site plan, also on their banking as well as investors. So what they need, again, at this level, we can't get to it fast enough, obviously, again, with the necessary notices that have to be published and hearings that have to be held with the formal development agreement and amendment of the urban renewal plan. But this memorandum of understanding outlines really what the development agreement ultimately will contain and allows, again, the comfort or peace of mind for the developer to proceed with banking and investors as well as, again, site work, civil site work that needs to be completed yet. So I'm going to review this memorandum of understanding with you. And we'll just kind of go through some of the key points. Again, the developer is proposing to undertake the development of approximately an 85-room Marriott hotel and approximately a 450-person, 6,000 square foot attached event conference center. Again, this is on Lot 4, Courtway Park subdivision. Flip over here to the next page. Down to Article 2. JSM intends that the project, again, described beyond Lot 4, Courtway Park subdivision, that they would begin construction of the project by June 15th of this year. They intend to invest a minimum of $13 million in real and personal property into the project. They ultimately will employ 15 full-time equivalent and part-time employees no later than 12 months after the project is opened, and that they will ultimately enter into a minimum assessment agreement in the amount of not less than $5 million in taxable valuation. The next sheet under 3.02, franchise fee, franchise application fee. This is what I had mentioned to earlier that we had alluded to in the pre-development agreement, that we would offset the cost of the franchise fee applications paid to Marriott Corporation in an amount not to exceed $50,000 of that $75,000 application fee paid by JSM. 3.03, construction incentives that we would provide. The city would provide a $150,000 incentive to the developer should the project begin no later than June 15th. Also, the city would provide a $150,000 incentive should the project pass city inspections and have certificate of occupancy issued for the hotel by June 30th of 2021. Forgivable loan that the city would agree to provide a not to exceed $1.2 million economic development forgivable loan to the developer upon completion of the hotel conference center project. Again, is certified by the certificate of occupancy that would be issued by the city. The forgivable loan would be forgiven semi-annually, so there'd be 20 semi-annual forgiving payments on that. So essentially over a 10-year period, we do that November 1st and May 1st. The forgiveness of the $1.2 million over that period of time, again, semi-annually. That waiver of building permit fees and city connection fees. Again, we just waive the building permit fee and hookup fees for city utilities. Water and sanitary sewer service laterals, that the cost of construction of the water and sewer service laterals to the hotel and conference center would be reimbursed to the developer by the city. Property tax rebate payments, that we would propose to make a 10-year property tax rebate to the developer in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million over that 10-year period. And last but not least, that the city agrees to proceed with amending the urban renewal plan and authorizing a future development agreement. I don't have anything further in terms of the memorandum of understanding, but I'd be happy to answer any questions on that or project.
Council, any questions for Scott?
My understanding is that ultimately, moving forward, we would capture this money back through TIF financing?
Yes, yes. It's, and hotel motel tax revenue.
Yeah,
so,
okay,
yep,
sure.
Yep. That's correct. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Scott. We'll entertain a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding between the city and JSM. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Seconded by Mike, that we approve the memorandum of understanding with JSM Investment. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to just comment briefly if I could. I know we're in the midst of this public health crisis, and I want to just thank everybody who's on the front lines of dealing with that and who's involved in that effort. I think the economic impact's also been very severe, and I just think it's important to support and incentivize projects like this Courtway Park development. I think we're very fortunate to have it, and the opportunity to partner with JSM Investments to develop an 85-room Marriott Hotel and Conference Center is really, I think, a transformational opportunity for us. It'll put people to work, and hopefully with the year that it'll take to build it, we'll be through this present crisis. So, again, I think a great project for us, and I fully support it.
Thank you. Anyone else? If I'll call the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
5-0.
No, Dana's not here, Gary, so we'll go
I'm sorry.
4-0. 6B, Clear Lake, North Iowa Corridor, EDC, Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund, Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce, SHOP, Local Advertising, Financial Support, and City of Clear Lake Employee Recognition Initiative. Review, Mr. Flohr.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, just run through these items here in the packet with you. The first purple sheet there is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of grant agreement by and between the City of Clear Lake and the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce. And as the Mayor mentioned, that's for the advertising campaign. That would be in the amount of $10,000. The next pink sheet in your packet is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a grant agreement between the City of Clear Lake and the North Iowa Corridor Economic Development Corporation. That, of course, is for the Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund, and that's in the amount of $100,000. And The yellow sheets are resolution authorizing use of funds under Iowa Code Chapter 15A for an economic development project with the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, and that is for the Chamber Bucks program. And then last but not least, the blue sheet is a resolution approving employee recognition policy pertaining to coronavirus COVID-19 public health emergency declaration. And just to, again, we talked about this quite a bit at the last meeting, but in the way of some background, the city, Clear Lake, of course, working with the North Iowa Corridor, is proposing to launch a small business recovery and continuity fund, have an initial allocation of $100,000 to help mitigate COVID-19 related losses that Clear Lake's small, independently owned local businesses and restaurants have suffered during this public health crisis. The program initiative is providing financial support to make forgivable grants up to $5,000 available to Clear Lake independently owned small businesses to enable continuity through this period and beyond of the COVID-19 pandemic. Program would be administered by the North Iowa Corridor EDC. We would have representation by city officials on the evaluation panel. City would be redirecting available dollars that we have through our Economic Development Fund. That was, again, as I mentioned at the last meeting, established through a payback on a loan that the city had gotten for helping a local business. Full Sewell at that time was in the late 1980s. Part of that from the State Department of Economic Development was a grant, part of it was a loan, and the loan part was repaid to the city. These were state funds, and the city got to capture those and create its own local economic development fund. We have not used those dollars in the last 25 years, essentially, and most of the projects, again, as I stated last time, that we get involved in anymore either involve tax abatements or tax rebates or those kinds of programs. So we haven't utilized these funds, so they've been available to us. They are restricted funds, so they have to be used for economic development purposes only, so it's not like we can pave an alley with them or anything like that, so it does have to be tied to economic development. Generally, the program, the tenets of the program provide that the eligible business must meet certain criteria, such as having been operational for not less than 1 year, employ between not less than 1 to more than 25 people. Employees demonstrate at least 25% reduction in revenues due to COVID-19, and these funds may be used to cover payroll, rent, working capital, or other business operational expenses. So, and that's it on the Small Business Recovery and Continuity Program. Under the Shop Local campaign, the same source of funds. Again, we're proposing to allocate $10,000 from that Economic Development Fund to the Chamber of Commerce to support and underwrite costs associated with an enhanced Shop Local marketing campaign to provide assistance to businesses, again, that are adversely impacted by the government's closure of portions of their business, such as I mentioned last time, restaurants, for example, that have had their dine-in opportunities severely restricted, obviously, by government action. So they've had to resort to expenses associated with promoting other means, such as delivery or pickup. So costs associated with marketing those services. Lastly, it's proposed to provide, again, using the same source of fund for the purchase of Clear Lake Chamber Bucks for city employees, including volunteer firefighters, in response to and recognition of their ongoing extraordinary efforts in the performance of their duties, and to ensure the continuity of the local government services that we provide that our constituents so depend upon. Many employers, of course, are in a position where they can provide for paid administrative leave or work from home opportunities. And again, the very essential nature of what it is that we do doesn't allow for the most effective performance of our employees' work to be done anywhere but the front line. So this is an opportunity, I think, to help support the Chamber of Commerce program, to also recognize, again, these extraordinary efforts of our own city employees during this time, as well as support over 400 members of our local business community who are proud members of our local Chamber of Commerce, as these can only be spent at those businesses. They cannot be spent on Amazon, for example, online. So again, I think it's a great opportunity to help inject some more those dollars back into our economy and also, again, support the chamber and support our employees. So. And tonight, of course, is the date scheduled for the public hearing on that. I've not gotten any formal written communication on that. I've got a lot of positive feedback anecdotally and informally and otherwise, but as far as written official communication, I've not received anything, but just again, can pass along. I've heard a lot of positive comments on those programs in the community.
Council, any questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the 4 resolutions that we will be voting on after the public hearing. And they are, with regard to what Scott just talked about, the Clear Lake North Iowa Corridor EDC, Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund, Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce, Shop Local Advertising Financial Support, and the City of Clear Lake Employee Recognition Initiative. If there's anyone who wishes to address that particular, those particular resolutions, please approach the podium, state your name, first and last, give your address so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. Welcome, Tim.
Mayor and council, good evening. Thanks for letting me have an opportunity to speak for a moment. Personally, I support all 4 of these resolutions, but I mainly want to talk about the Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund. When I heard about this personally, I thought it was another terrific idea, kind of following the $1 million for the Wellness Center. I think the things you guys are doing, the council is doing is terrific. But also the owners of MBT Bank, John V. Hansen and Mary Jo Bowman, heard about this project and were very interested in thinking it was a great idea. There's a lot through the bank. Obviously, we know the impact of what's going on around here. A lot of small businesses that fall through the cracks of the Paycheck Protection Program are not being helped. So I see this as a tremendous gift, or at least a helpful funding for those businesses that are being impacted and don't get that other dollars that other businesses are. So on behalf of the Hansen Foundation, the Hansen family, and MBT Bank, they would like to contribute an additional $15,000 to that fund. So at the appropriate time when that check, hopefully it'll pass, but at that time we'd love to present a check to add to that $100,000 that the council is doing. I want to commend the city of Clear Lake, the city of Mason City, the county, for all getting together to do this. I think it's a terrific idea, and it's very worthwhile, and hopefully it'll benefit many. So thank you for your time, and appreciate it.
Thank you, and give our gratitude to Mr. Hansen and Ms. Bowman and MBT Bank and the Hansen Foundation.
Sure will.
That's wonderful, wonderful support. Yeah,
Good.
Thank you.
I'll be talking to them in the morning. I have to give a presentation to the board tomorrow morning, so I will pass on
We
those
appreciate
kind
that
words.
very,
You bet.
very much.
Thank you.
And the community. Thank you. Mrs. Dawn, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well. Thank you. You're on.
Great. Well, Mayor Crabb and City Council members, on behalf of the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce and our members, I want to offer our support of the Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund, of the Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce Shop Local Advertising Campaign, and the City of Clear Lake Employee Recognition Initiative. Over the past few weeks, we've listened to the concerns of our area businesses and the concerns they have about their futures. I am encouraged to see Facebook plastered with shop, dine, and buy local posts. People are anonymously sending flowers, cookies, donuts, and gift cards to one another through an initiative called the Clear Lake Kindness Project. You can definitely see the heart of Clear Lake in all of this. So I'd like to applaud the leadership of the city and the North Iowa Corridor for building a local grant program to provide much needed funding for Clear Lake businesses. And thanks to the Hansen Foundation, the Hansen family, and MBT for stepping up to provide additional private funds to the benefit of our small business community. I'd also like to thank you for your confidence in the Chamber to execute an impactful Shop Local campaign. My team's already demonstrated outstanding leadership in promoting area businesses and shopping local. A few weeks ago, our Buy-in Clear Lake gift card campaign generated $25,800 that was distributed directly into 61 Clear Lake businesses in a matter of days. And I'm pleased to announce we've received more generous business and individual sponsors, so we're releasing another 700 gift cards that will be sold on Thursday. That will pump in at least an additional $21,000 directly into our local businesses. I don't need to tell you how important small businesses are to our community. They add to the quality of life and the tourism draw of Clear Lake, and the Chamber is committed to doing whatever we can to ensure our small businesses can make it through the next few months. So thank you for your confidence.
We thank you, Stacy, very much. And, recently during this COVID-19 time that we're in, we certainly thank you and your leadership there at the Chamber with all the initiatives that you've done these last few weeks. Absolutely fantastic what has come through, and I'm sure very, very much appreciated by the business community as well as the entire community itself. Once again, the leadership there is absolutely outstanding, and we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Schreck, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And you're on, Chad. Welcome.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor and Council, and I just want to join everyone in thanking you for your support and your forethought and being a part of this effort. I want to thank Stacy and the team at the Chamber for also being incredibly supportive and helpful. We at the corridor are obviously very strongly in support of each of these efforts and initiatives. And I just really wanted to give you a quick update on some of the things that we're seeing so far. We had wrapped up the pre-application process as of this past Friday, and it ended up with 248 pre-applications, 77 of those from Clear Lake addresses, which ended up being over 1.1 million in requests in total, and about over 350,000 in Clear Lake specifically. We started accepting the full applications from those that were eligible off the pre-applications, which so far has been 29 from Clear Lake and 94 in total. So we can see very clearly a strong need there and a very good and positive response to the program. So we'll be beginning the review process this week so that we can get everything moving as quickly as possible. We are closing full applications this Friday. And at that point, we'll get the review teams to finalize their decisions and award suggestions. Again, we have quite a few more requests than we do have actual funds, so greatly appreciate the Hanson family, the MBT Bank, and Tim Esbeck and the team there for their private support, and certainly encourage any other private donations or companies that would like to be a part of this. We do have a channel for tax-deductible donations through a partnership with United Way. So certainly you can look for that on the North Central Iowa United Way page or through our website if anyone would have more interest in that to help us close that gap. And obviously with that kind of challenge, we're going to do our best, and the reviewers are going to do their best to judge this as fairly and based on impact, need, whether or not businesses have received outside funding from other sources, such as the federal SBA programs, because we want to make sure that we're pulling in funds from outside the area and utilizing these local dollars to fill in any gaps so that everybody, to the best of our ability, can team up and work together to get dollars to everybody in some level to help people get through this. Like Stacy said, it's been incredibly impactful and difficult for all of our business community, and we just hope we can all work together and help each other through this. And again, just commend the city, our partners in Mason City and in the county, and others that have really jumped to be a part of this and help us in this really unique and difficult time.
Chad, we thank you for your leadership within the North Iowa corridor, Mason City, Saragordo County, Clear Lake. We have said many times, this is a unique period in our lifetime, most of our lifetimes, and leadership is really, really important, and I think it's come through greatly here in the North Iowa corridor. Thanks for being a part of that, Chad. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Now I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. Council, any discussion among the four of us tonight with regard to what was said at the podium or anything else with regard to these four resolutions of which we are about to vote upon?
Yes, Your Honor, I would just like to quickly thank Tim and the Hanson family for their support of the Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund. I appreciate the way that our partners have said there in Mason City and the county really have followed our lead in this project, and we appreciate your contribution to it. So please pass along our thanks there. Our hope, frankly, was that it would have a multiplier effect in the community. And that's what's so exciting to see with these partners that we have and with the corridor and the chamber. And I just hope that, again, across all of North Iowa in our small business community, it will provide some very needed help. So thank you again. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mike?
Yeah. Being nearly a lifelong resident of Clear Lake, had to go to college elsewhere and a few things like that, but I've had the opportunity to watch the community step up and help one another in many different ways. Quickly coming to mind the case of a farmer that suffered some sort of a health ailment during the fall, and all the neighbors stepping up to harvest the crop, and someone that had a fire or personal illness, and a fund getting started, and that fund collecting a lot of money. Well, at least on a dollar scale, this is a much bigger deal, and it's really encouraging to see the community members step up to do what they can to support these shuttered businesses, and see many of our other community partners like MBT Bank and others coming forward with some extra funds. The only other thing I'd like to mention is the money from the Clear Lake Fund, and Scott's probably mentioned this, but the city has no part in deciding who gets that. It's going to be the economic corridor, so we don't have to worry about any conflicts of interest or anything like that. So they've got some metrics designed to figure this out, and it will be, I'm sure, fairly distributed. And Scott mentioned that this fund hasn't been used for 25 years. I'm hoping it's at least another 25 before we have to do anything like this with it. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else? Vote on the four resolutions, 2030, 2031, 2032, and 2033. First, 2030. This is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a grant agreement with the Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, i.e. Shop Local Advertising. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Bennett, that we approve Resolution 2030. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Gary.
Gary.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Motion to approve Resolution 2031, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a grant agreement with the North Iowa Corridor Economic Development Corporation, i.e. Small Business Recovery and Continuity Fund. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2031. Is there any discussion? Mike?
Yes.
Bennett? Gary?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2031 is duly adopted. Motion to approve Resolution 2032, a resolution approving and authorizing use of funds under Iowa Code Chapter 15A for an economic development project with the Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce, i.e. Chamber Bucks. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Mike, that we approve Resolution 2032. Is there any discussion? Bennett?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. And a motion to approve Resolution 2033, a resolution approving employee recognition policy pertaining to coronavirus, COVID-19, public health emergency declaration. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2033. Is there any discussion? Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2033 is duly adopted. Thank you all. Appreciate that. Chief of Police, Pete, report. Do you have any?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I really do have is that we continue to work with the city, other city departments, public health, emergency management, among others, responding to the COVID-19 stuff while still taking our calls for service. And I'm just very proud of the department and all the employees there that come in every day to do that. So that's all I have unless there's any questions.
And Chief, I assume the county is still holding at 14 positive cases, COVID-19?
I can't confirm. I'd have to actually look. I know that it does change, but that sounds about right. But I wouldn't confirm that, though, without actually looking at the numbers.
Okay.
Yes, that is true, Mayor. That is 14.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Counsel, any questions for Chief? Okay, under Mayor's report, first I have a proclamation that I'd like to briefly paraphrase here. This was given to me by Tourism Director Libby Hahn down at the Chamber, and it's with regard to national travel, the National Travel and Tourism Organization. And as you know, travel and tourism is right now, you might say, at risk. It's tough. But they have come up with a proclamation that I think it's worth us reading, or that I read here tonight. And it follows up on our economic incentive initiatives that we talked about just previously here that were so well crafted by Scott Flory with some input by Stacy Dawn. But in 2 weeks, the National Travel and Tourism Organization are going to have a tourism week. That's May 3rd to 9th. And so you might think, boy, that's really premature with regard to the times that we are in. But they state, tourism has provided significant economic benefits for the nation. In fact, last year had a net economic output of 2.6 trillion, with 1.1 trillion spent directly here in the United States. As we know, tourism is one of the largest private sector employers in the United States, supporting 15.8 million jobs in the year 2019. It generates $517.5 million in state revenue. At least this is what it did last year. That supported essential services and programs. In Clear Lake, tourism generated last year $415,811 in tax revenue, which reflects an expenditure of $73.3 million in visitor spending alone. However, whereas business and workers in the travel industry were some of the first and hardest hit by this economic crisis that we are in, resulting from the coronavirus, and of that, 83% of Clear Lake businesses are small businesses, and they depend really on our support through and after this crisis. We all know that we are a /resort tourism community. That's our main engine here. And so this is very, very critical to us. We know right now that Clear Lake cannot welcome visitors in person, but the spirit of tourism remains a key in the tourism industry in Clear Lake, Iowa. Tourism will be a necessary and prominent component when we return to our everyday life and must be supported and protected at all costs right here in Clear Lake, Iowa, as well as in the state and nation. And so May 3rd through 9th has been declared National Travel and Tourism Week. And speaking of that, I hate to say that you're proud right now during all of these times, but I have great pride in saying and seeing what our local small businesses are doing in this community at this time. Yes, we gave them all, or hopefully have given them all, a little help tonight by passing these 4 resolutions from our part here in Clear Lake. But it really is a North Iowa event as well. And to help and support each other within that. And I see that in this community. Small businesses helping other small businesses. You know, just last night, I think this is the second or third time we've done it, but our theater, what is it, from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night, sometimes around there, you can go up and get a bucket or a bag of popcorn. You can get pop or you can get candy. And it was really neat to see that line last night all the way down to the Mirror Reporter, waiting to get the popcorn. Sure, we all like popcorn, I think, most of us do, but in turn supporting our theater to make sure that that's a viable part of our small business in our community. Larger corporations in our community, I noticed, were providing, much like we talked about tonight, providing our employees with some money, chamber bucks, if you will, to go out and spend in our own community, by our own employees, to support this town during this really, really tough time. But the larger corporations were helping. I saw a picture in the paper of working with one of the assisted living places here in town. You know, really, really neat to see that camaraderie coming out and the support that we all have for each other. And to come back, even our own staff right here at the city. I believe, what do we have? It's got 64, I think, full-time employees, somewhere in around there, and several, quite a few part-time as well. But they're, you might say, they're front line. They've been here every day all through this and come in contact with all of our local citizens, and a great, great job that they are doing. Also, you know, if we get into the fire department, the police department, those people that are really in, as they're saying now, in the front line, that have to go out and work with people in all types of physical and mental situations that they might be going through. Thank you. Just thank you all. Tough, tough time. And we will get through. And we're all helping each other. That's Clear Lake, Iowa. Thanks, folks. Chad, did you want to add any more tonight?
It's hard to follow that up, Mayor.
sorry.
I guess the only thing I would just add a kudos to Kingland. I think people saw they did a program similar to what the city did with giving employees money to go and spend at local businesses. I just think that's a phenomenal thing, and hope others are taking that lead where they can. And then also, the Globe announced a really cool program to help small businesses with some marketing assistance and grant funds to really expand small businesses' abilities to market. So very cool things that businesses are doing to help, like you mentioned. And the only other thing quick is we're working with the Public Health Department to spread awareness with businesses and large employers. As you've seen across the state, some of the biggest outbreak events have happened at large employers. Just trying to share best practices and information with them so that they know what signs to look for and hopefully to stop anything like that from happening up here.
Thanks, Chad. Well put. Mr. Weigel, do you have anything?
Just a couple quick updates on projects that have started up here. Our 4th Avenue South and South 3rd Street rehab or asphalt overlay project. Heartland started last week with some saw cutting and curb and gutter milling review. And then this morning we had an on-site pre-construction meeting, a little different obviously, with the small groups with contractors, project manager, and project engineer. Heartland's got a pretty fast schedule here. There did quite a few removals today. They got roughly a week and a half slated for the concrete work, and then they're going to take roughly a week off, and then asphalt work is scheduled for the week of May 11th. The Four Winds patching will take place after that work is done, tentatively the 18th, 19th of May, but they'll have the seeding and everything wrapped up by their schedule closed by, I think, the 19th. So we should be looking pretty good to being done with that project prior to Memorial Day. Highway 18, interstate turn lanes, contractors started up again. They did some removals and grading, start some paving here. The engineer and contractors still working through on how they plan to get those traffic signal foundations poured. I haven't gotten an update yet on that, on what they plan on doing, but they're going to continue plugging away on that. Also, the alley project bids next week from Thursday, April 30th at City Hall there, so we'll see how those bids come in. That's all, Your Honor.
Council, any questions, Joe? Thank you, Joe. Mr. Flory? Well, folks, don't forget to fly Old Glory. We use her as our symbol right now, and we use it every day, really, as our symbol. Thank you, Clear Lake. Hang in there. Be safe. Meeting adjourned.